July 14th, 2020 at 6:56 p.m. Roll call. Can we just state the roll call? The vote attendance is the same as Counselor, do you need to do a roll call?
I think he wants us to do roll call. Alderperson Madden.
Here.
Kubaki.
Here.
Engelhardt.
Here.
Kapusta.
Here.
Terrence.
Here.
Hamel.
Here.
And Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of minutes from June 23rd, 2020.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. New business number 2, discussion and renewal of festival committee lease for the pavilion at Veterans Park. So, look in your packet. There is a copy of the lease that the festival committee has with the city for, there's a section of the pavilion that actually they built or paid for their storage on it. Their current lease ends August 1st, and they would like to renew it. When do you want to come up and add anything to that?
Good evening. Jeffrey Baker, South 76, West 22215 Glen Echo Road, Muskego, Wisconsin. Here representing the Muskego Community Festival as a member of the American Legion, Muskego American Legion. This is the first time that we've actually had a chance to be in front of the council since the original lease was back in 2003 when the planning of this was going on, the planning and budgeting. The pavilion, the storage was considered built for the festival committee. We paid for it, $12,600. $8,600 of that went to the actual construction, and the rest of it went to the Lions Club for the rest of the pavilion costs. I'm gonna spare some real small details and jump to some big stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of everything to give to you because of short notice, but I would provide that to you if you request it in the future. From a finance committee meeting, July 16th, 2003, in new business, Alderman Pawlowski moved to approve the amended festival invoice for $8,615 with the understanding that the festival committee has exclusive rights to storage facility, and that was seconded by Alderman Salentine and carried by all. We'll jump to a letter on July 23rd, 2003 from the then Finance Department Director, Dawn Gunderson, to our Treasurer, Glenda Holm. And I'll skip the basic stuff, but I'll go to the bottom part here that says, once the city of Muskego has received payment in the amount of $8,615.63, it will be understood that the festival committee will have exclusive rights to use of the storage facility for as long as the festival exists and or the life of the structure. I don't honestly know where this policy came from. I don't have a letterhead or anything, but I have a date on it dated April 6, 2005. So we're jumping ahead now. Be it resolved, the storage portion of the Veterans Memorial Park that is located adjacent to the open air pavilion shall be for the sole purpose of the festival committee. Any other authorized users are required to garner approval from the festival committee. And forward to a June 15th, 2005 meeting. This was to the Finance Committee and Common Council from Parks and Recreation, Craig Anderson, to be specific, and I'm going to read this to you in whole. The Parks and Recreation Board is recommending for approval an agreement with the Festival Committee for exclusive use of the storage area in the Lions Club Pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park. This is the storage area that they paid for. We have had a verbal agreement with the Festival Committee, but felt a paper document was needed for the future. We forwarded this agreement on to the city engineer for his review. The city engineer feels this agreement covers the city. Thank you for your consideration. At the time, and the reasons the other gentleman is here is because he was the director or chairman of the Festival Committee at that point. So if he can speak to signing the lease at that time.
Jeff Hazer, W162 South 7420, Charlotte Court. I just want to add a couple things, and some of you have heard some of these points, but I think some of you, this is all new to you, is that one point that Mr. Baker shared about the Lions Club financing it, one of our member groups, is that they donated all the labor. Many of those gentlemen are in the trades and lent their professional services free of charge to help build that structure. As well as we worked well with the city on the front end to design the building. And originally we were just going to build the pavilion with the storage space, but no bathrooms. And the city came back to us and asked if we could include those. And we did that. The city helped pay for some of the costs from for the bathrooms. So I think that just should help some of you, because some of you have heard parts of these discussions and not. And I guess we just want that out there because we felt like we weren't being heard and caused some frustrations with some of the things in the past. We do want to maintain and be able to keep that space because we do use it for storage for all the equipment that helps us to put on the festival, as well as just to reiterate one other point that I don't think has been appreciated enough, and that is that if it wasn't for the festival committee, the park probably wouldn't be what it is today, because those of you that have lived here for a while know that originally it was one big open field when it moved there from being on Janesville Road. Our different member groups added different components. The Women's Club added the fountain area there. Our veterans added the arch, the entranceway, led to the catalyst for the paving. The Lions Club helped facilitate that pavilion being structured, and then that gave it somewhat of identity. And then the Park and Rec Department, that gave them the opportunity to help write grants to help facilitate all that playground equipment there.
Did you guys add the electricity as well?
Yes, Jeff, you're a little more knowledgeable on that part. And
Talking about the entire park infrastructure,
Right.
Electric, yes, we installed all that.
and which we currently maintain, and we pay the monthly electrical energies every month, even though we only use it 3 days a year. So ultimately, we do want to renew the lease. I guess the point that we're saying here is, over the years, we've had some frustration with just being charged rent for a building that one of our members built and donated to the city. So we just wanted to get that out there. If something we could do about that part of it, that would be great. But either way, we do want to maintain that space.
Who's been maintaining the building?
The city has done some of it, but that was the understanding from the beginning.
I can speak to that.
Okay, so actually, I just put this down. There were some questions at a meeting about maintenance for the building. Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Yes. At a Parks and Recreation Board meeting, June 13, 2005, maintenance was brought up. And, well, I can read this all to you, or you can I can get it to you at a later time, or you can look it up.
Can you paraphrase
I was
it?
gonna say, do you have bridge?
They basically said, Ms. Coble, I believe at the time, they were concerned about the nonprofits in the city donating all these different things, and then expecting the city to maintain them. The discussion eventually was moved to approve a 10-year agreement with us, and if capital expenditures arose that didn't prevent the Parks and Recreation Board from making a verbal request for donation of funds to offset the cost to the Lions Club or to the festival committee. So the city took that on, but it was understood that if they needed help with maintenance costs, that we would possibly chip in on those.
Okay.
And again, that was our Parks and Recreation Board meeting, June 13th, 2005.
I just want to clarify that this lease is for the storage part of the building, it's not for the whole building itself.
Right.
So from a maintenance standpoint, I don't know what would change, our maintenance costs don't really change much because we're taking this portion. Yeah. I mean, the roof's got to be replaced.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, just
understand.
clarifying.
That's
Okay.
a city-owned structure then.
Yeah.
So, a Common Council City of Muskego Resolution 128-205, approval of Lions Club Pavilion storage agreement between the City of Muskego and Muskego Festival Committee. The Common Council of the City of Muskego, upon the recommendation of the Finance Committee, does hereby approve the attached agreement between the City of Muskego and Muskego Festival Committee for storage in the Lions Club Pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park. I wasn't.
Can I
Yes.
just ask one?
Yes, sir.
Why don't we just ask what you're looking for and let us discuss.
Uh,
And if we need further things, you're here, that way we can get a discussion.
So basically what we'd like is to renew our lease.
Okay.
And we would like that to be for a minimal rent, 0 if possible, in perpetuity as originally agreed upon by the council and the committee.
Okay. So, say we, at least for like $1, we have to have some consideration on it, so you could do $1. Is that what
Okay.
you're asking for $1? What's a time period that we could, I gotta start somewhere, so I'm just.
In terms of the length of the
Yeah,
lease?
can we do it,
And I would
$1
do
a year or
I would
something?
do it I can never say
$2 a year.
perpetuity.
okay,
I
can you do
mean,
99, can you do it 50, 10?
Just do $1 a year.
yeah, I would say like, things change, so the longer it's kind of difficult.
Mhm.
I would say the shortest you could do would be that's 5 years, 10 years. I wouldn't go beyond 10.
Okay, so would you, well, I'm just starting somewhere, you guys can amend it, do what you want, so, like a 10-year, $1 lease.
Over the years,
He's like,
Just, wait, I just want to start.
All right.
$1 a year for 10 years, $1 a year.
Yes.
right,
Okay.
Just a starting point, you guys can amend the heck out of this thing, but I want
Yeah.
to, is that reach what you're looking for?
It does.
Okay, start.
over the years, and Jeff, we've talked about this a number of times. The city's had a use for that storage area. I don't know what the plans are right now. I don't know if the city doesn't have a use for that.
If we, I'll answer your question without cutting you off, I hope, but.
You just did,
I-
but go ahead.
Let me just answer that part of it. I did talk to Tammy, she said if the space was available, she would use it. If she doesn't have it available, she's not gonna die, so.
Okay. And I know there was talk about purchasing these boxcar things and moving your stages back and forth. And I know that's an issue because your stages are expensive and they have to be maintained. I would like to see us, extend the lease at a reasonable fee. We do have the maintenance. There is still some maintenance on that portion of the structure and the structure itself. So I'm open to it, but just, again, there's more history than just some papers from 2003. Also, just to clarify that the lighting for the park is not paid for by the festival committee. It's the electricity that they use. There's an ongoing charge, I think, that We Energies has just to keep it open and running.
There are service fees.
Yeah.
We keep all of them on, and actually, the lighting does come from our electric.
It does.
There's
The park lighting.
There's photo cells for the lights that come out of our service boxes.
Okay,
yes.
and I apologize.
And
I
also
didn't
the,
know that.
the Muskego sign that they put up on Pioneer is tied into our electric as well. And, I'm not sure who pays the pavilion. That, I would have to talk to the treasurer about that. She's the one who
Okay.
keeps those records, but.
Okay, all right.
Now, when someone uses the park, like the beer truck or whatever, I don't know if they plug in, are they plugging into your electricity or do they pay them a charge or do you know anything, Scott, how that works? Does anybody use the electricity other than the festival committee when they're doing events or outdoor dances?
There's a really weird electrical issue out there. It is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they do our sign. It's a really kind of.
Yes, yeah, I can understand.
it is.
But I'm just wondering if it goes further than that, that's
Well,
all.
there are certain boxes out there, locks, certain boxes that we have the beer trucks that plug in. They pay a fee. I know, I think there's some fees that we pay too, but.
Okay, so there is some type of reimbursement back,
It
okay.
is back and forth.
That's
It is
fine.
very complicated because of all the different lines out there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I understand.
about it.
I just didn't know if they got
So-
reimbursed for anything. That's fine, as long
Yeah.
as you see something now and then. Okay,
I think.
No?
We don't ask for reimbursement for those.
okay.
No, they
gotcha.
don't. And I think Tammy called you too. One of your lights has been on, something like that.
I just noticed that earlier.
Yeah, she left you a message, so you might want to call about that.
The photoelectric guy is
Yeah.
probably covered up by something or.
I'd like to make a motion for $1 consideration for 5 years.
Second?
Can I make a comment first?
We have no idea.
I'll second it. Either one. Eileen can second. There's curtains for the pavilion also that are stored in their section?
No idea. I have no idea what story.
Curtains for the pavilion?
Yeah, tarp curtains for the pavilion.
We don't store anything for
As
this.
I recall, we were from Chamber of Commerce event over there, got curtains out of your section, had to get the key from somebody in order to do that, and we were able to use those. And I was just curious about ownership of those and so forth.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Unless they were given permission to use some of our equipment,
Yeah,
and
and
I'm not in the
Chamber is
loop
a
on
member
that.
of the festival.
Yeah, that's true. They are part of the festival committee.
We have one here right now.
I'm sorry, I don't have that any better recollect, but I know there was an event over there and we had to get into that section and we were granted a key to get in there to get those out as far as I remember. And then we put them up for that event.
I'd like to see us go 10 years, so
Yep.
amend the
We have to
motion.
vote on the motion and to amend it.
You can amend it.
Yeah.
You have a motion on the floor. If
Okay.
you're making a motion to amend, you can do that.
Yeah, make a motion amend it to 10 years. Stop it.
You need a second.
Second.
Discussion on any discussion on the amendment.
I think it should stay 5.
All those in favor of the amendment, let's do a roll.
Forgot they built the park, let's go 20.
So are we doing the,
Motion to the amendment, just the amendment. So
to
amendment
the 10
to
years?
10 years.
Okay, okay. Alderperson Madden,
Yes.
Kubaki,
Sure.
Engelhardt,
That's a yes. That's an absolute yes. Yeah.
I sense I better change. Yes.
Kapusta,
Yes. Yes.
Terrence,
Yes.
Hamel.
Yes.
And Wolf.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Any further discussion on the motion as amended? All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
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 Opposed?
You got it.
At least for $1 a year.
So I'll put that.
Anything to keep Jeff happy, that's all I want.
One of you guys gonna sign?
I'll put that together. Okay,
Thank you very much.
It'll be the
Thanks,
same
guys.
lease, just with $1.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's just a count.
Yes. Yeah, we gotta bring
We'll
it,
bring it to council.
we gotta bring it to council, approve it there, but just give direction, so. The other item under new business, Park Arthur Baseball Field, Muskego, Norway Shared Use Facility Agreement. So, I'm gonna give some context to this. When I first got in office, I met with many of you, and just, what are your goals and things like that. number of you stated we would like to see an improved relationship with the school district. Now this explanation here might get a little convoluted and take some different paths, but, so years ago, we used to have and I'm sure most of you are aware, we had a pretty comprehensive shared use agreement with the school district for using their facilities, them using some of ours. We had, it worked essentially, and we had some cost sharing on some the athletic fields out there, based on we cost shared on building it, and we cost shared on maintaining them as well. Park and Rec over the years realized that a lot of the uses for those facilities out there at that time were being driven by third parties, essentially. They weren't like our Park and Rec we don't have a Park and Rec baseball program, for instance. So like the Junior Warriors or MAA was the one ultimately wanted to use some of those facilities, and because of our agreement, they would go through us and then we would go through them, and so ultimately it was decided, and I'm not sure if the council decided this, the mayor did it on her own, but canceled that agreement with the school district. The school district at the time wasn't really pleased on that because we had a 99-year agreement to cost share on that. Their business plan was based on that cost sharing. Whatever, to kind of make that up, they said, well, okay, then you're going to start paying at least some cost for using the school facilities when the Park and Rec used them. They use a few gyms. There's not a lot. Some classrooms at the time. They don't use classrooms really much anymore. But the school district then put $10 an hour usage fee. I think it was $10 per time to use it initially, and then they changed it to $10 an hour. And that cost was mainly to cover they had to have maintenance people there when there was people in the building. Trust me, the people were making more than $10 an hour, so it wasn't even covering their costs. But anyway, it got to be this back and forth thing. It got so bad that I'm just going to say the previous administration wouldn't allow the students from Lake the Noon to be using the park for gym classes. Now, mind you, a little history. I've been around this government a while. That park was specifically built next to that school, so there could be, a lot of collaboration between the two. So as of right now, the school district's not allowed to use the park without paying some. I think it was like $9,000 a year. They tried working out agreements like if there's costs, how about we have our grounds crew fixes. That there was all kinds of issues. Regardless, the relationship wasn't the best. Let's just say. How does this tie into this Park Arthur baseball field? So right now, you guys agreed to redo Park Arthur number 4. Park Arthur number 4, if it rains, a slight drizzle is unusable for unbelievable amount of time. There's no drainage there. The drainage it's negative. I mean, it's just horrible. So you guys agreed, we're going to spend a lot of money. Yeah, let's just say, well, and it was high 300s. So is it like
315,000.
Yeah.
That's just for one of the fields. It's $500,000 for all of them, but for the number 4, it's $300,000 plus. And the main users of that are the baseball organizations. So I said it's going to get convoluted. So this whole thing is a little mixed. I've been talking to the baseball organizations, and what Tammy would like to do is get out of the baseball business altogether. Mm-hmm. She has to schedule their practices. She has to schedule their, their games, all this stuff. What we did in the school district when this agreement went south, MAA uses Bay Lane for baseball. We essentially said, okay, these fields are yours for $1 a year. Do what you want, but you're in charge of all the maintenance on them. You're in charge of prepping the fields. We don't want anything to do with them except let you use these. We can't really do that if we wanted to, even with the baseball organizations, because there's too many of them. We don't want to deal with all these things. So what I've started discussions with them, and to try to get them, all the main baseball organizations, to form almost something like this festival committee, where they're all members of it. All these different groups are members that they have a parent company or organization that we're just dealing with that one. And if that works, what we would like to do then is almost like say Kurth and Park Arthur baseball diamonds are your responsibility. We would drone them in the beginning of the season, document what condition they're in. They enter some sort of agreement for, some kind of cost. We would get them ready for the beginning of the season, but during the season, prepping them, all that would be this organization's responsibility. They would be responsible for doing their scheduling of their own games and fields. For public use, as far as baseball, if somebody wanted to come and use baseball diamonds, we would still have, we would still have Bloom. I'm just drawing a blank on other fields. We have other fields in this facility or in the city, but we would also have access to those for we rent a tournament every year. There was a tournament I think last weekend at Park Arthur. We would block off those dates ahead of time, so that we would still have our use for it, that we would know ahead of time that we would do that. But essentially, we wouldn't have to deal with any of the day-to-day stuff. At the end of the season, we would go survey the fields, compare it to the drone footage. Any damage they either have to fix or we fix it and charge them for it. Kind of cleans up a lot of work that we do. I mean, literally, you wouldn't believe the amount of time that Tammy spends on this every year. So through those discussions, one of the things that came up is we're spending all this money on this field at Park Arthur 4. One thought that came up would be to, instead of spending $300 and some thousand to redo that field, would be to spend about $200,000, put lights on the high school field, the varsity field, enter into a new agreement with the school district for all of their diamonds, not just that one, but all five. They have 3 softball / little league diamonds and two of the large diamonds there, and rekindle this cooperative relationship between the two. The reason I bring this here is, before I get too far down the line and dive into this relationship, if there's no interest from any of us to even pursue any of that, I'm going to stop, and then we're just going to go forward. We have, with Park Arthur number 4, get that moving. But if there is interest in it, I'd like your blessing to at least pursue that and go down that path. So it's real loose, just throwing it out there. Alderman Wolf.
Well, the question is,
The original lighting was paid for by the groups, so,
They're on board.
okay, so I just wanted,
And they're on board. They got to give me their official blessing, but I'm starting to, like you, I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole without everyone's blessing. So,
the lights are an important feature. I mean, that's where you're starting, it makes sense.
and I should also point out, Park Arthur 4 is still usable as is without doing anything to it. It's just when it rains, it can't be used for maybe a week or two. Depends how much it
So
rains.
you're saying that we would save $100,000?
Yes.
Plus.
So,
Who said plus?
yeah, plus.
I did. I said-
That's right, 300. Plus.
I'm just trying to figure out, is it worth $100,000? That's something we have to figure out. It sounds like a lot of money, but everything that's already invested in there, it's a minute amount of money. And
Yeah.
everything else we're gonna do to it, it's still a minute amount of money, but I don't know what it means long-term. I don't know what anybody else feels.
Well, I'll tell you from a community standpoint, when I broached it to the school district, their first response was, those referring to their fields, they're completely underutilized by the community.
That's a good point.
And they would like to see those used
Absolutely.
more. From a youth baseball standpoint, besides those really crazy parents that all believe their kids are going to the pros, their goal, which is higher and higher every year. Sorry for the editorial. Their goal is to get their kid playing on the high school field in high school. They're doing all this youth stuff. They're doing these select teams. They're traveling all over so their kid can play varsity baseball. The sooner the kids can start playing there, the better it is for the community. And that's why I think this is such a huge win. I can tell you from my youngest is now 23, but they went through, he did the select baseball all the way through. Their goal was just to play baseball out there, and the sooner we can get them doing that, the better. And I just think it's a win-win. But
No, you're right, and it's a good point to bring up. The concern is the conflict of use. If it's limited now, in the future, that also be spelled out pretty.
So the agreements for
much.
use would be between the school district and those, that baseball organization I'm trying to form. So they would have an agreement with them. We as a city would have access to it, but quite honestly, we as a city don't use baseball diamonds.
But my point is I just want to make sure that they're happy because that's what they're happy now with what they have.
I
And what-
wouldn't
Yeah,
push this forward without their complete blessing.
And
Just
we're
as a
happy with
quick-
what we have too, so we got to be happy with what we're going to get in return.
there are some issues where they're not happy. That's sort of where I think some of this is coming from, and Rick and I chatted. And this was on my wheelhouse. I, assistant varsity head coach at high school for girls softball. I coach a 10U travel team. I coach a 16U travel team. Well aware of the problems with scheduling fields and different teams and the issues with who was in charge of the field. And we went through it trying to be like, who are we reserving fields with? We can't reserve fields now, and this field's maintained and this one isn't. So we chatted. I'm a huge proponent of this moving forward. Talking about the field, you have a usable field. The two things that we struggle with in Wisconsin are you can't deal with weather, right? Snow and rain, it takes out a field. So high schools have moved towards using turf because turf is an all-weather condition. And then the next one is lights. And when you start to talk about older kids and playing at certain times, they won't schedule games at facilities that don't have lights because as it gets different parts of the season, you can't play. So when you're hitting a ball that's moving 80 miles an hour, it can't be dusk because the game's over. So the state tournaments, the state regional, they can't host things here because we don't have the facility to handle that. So that upgrade to the high school will be trickle down for everybody, even your 8s and your 9s and your 10s, because now you have a facility that's usable by more people on a longer range. Park Arthur's still usable, and you've now kind of divided that. So I'm a huge proponent of kind of the initial thoughts that Rick has sort of put out there. So,
Rick, I guess I would really encourage you to do this. I think this is long overdue, to have the sports organizations in conjunction with the school system with us. I mean, how great is that to all be speaking the same language? I would strongly encourage it. I think it's a great plan. So thank you.
What happens with the other needs of Park Arthur, the other diamonds?
Those are right now still scheduled to move forward following year. What's, do you want to help Scott?
Those lights over there, though, that's a bad thing.
So capital, we'll have a little early talk about capital. Fields 1, 2, and 3 were slated. I was going to present them to you. My date is August 25th to all you guys. And then that would be 1, 2, and 3 would be redone. And that would be kind of like how we do them in 2021. We wait for the season to end. We start it. And then we get it all done, hopefully by the fall of 2021, and by the season of 2022, they'll be all ready to go. And that's fields 1, 2, and 3.
So with those fields in full operation, and assuming that field number 4 is in partial operation, will the pavilion that we spent a whole lot of money on still be used there?
Yeah, from my understanding, the pavilion, now the only thing too is, again, storm, it's volunteers. They didn't do concessions last year. Remember, they didn't have the volunteers to do it. Volunteers is a tough thing, but when we have tournaments, it's, they use the pavilion. They use the fields. Like I said, fields are not, they're only not used, field 4 is when it rains really bad. I mean, that's why. We're designed, they're built wrong, is the best way to put it.
Right, as are the other fields. They're all,
They need to be repaired. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, so.
As far as the pavilions, those pavilions are also rented for parties on a regular basis. I mean, at least my friends that rent the pavilions, they prefer Park Arthur above any of them, actually. It's one of the nicer ones.
Sure.
So, Alderman Wolf.
Just so I understand correctly or incorrectly, when we redo the fields, we're taking the lights down.
Yes, what you do.
And we're not going to be putting them back up if we put them in the high school, right? Is that?
No.
No, okay. If we were
We'll
doing,
still have lights.
if we were gonna do field 4, we get everything down, we have to regrade the field and we put the lights back up. The thing is this, it's like the fencing. You take all the fencing down, you regrade it, and you put it back up. If you don't put it up, if you don't take it down, your fence
No, I understand that, but my point is.
5 feet above.
I just want, we're going to still have lights at Park Arthur?
Yeah,
Still gonna have
lights.
at
So
Park
where are
Arthur.
we saving the 100,000?
Because the lights that we'd be putting at the high school that we would be paying for are 100,000. They're 200. Well, here's the quote. It's $230,000.
Oh, so they're a cost sharing?
My proposal will be we put the lights on the varsity field and they put them on the softball fields.
And
instead of
They put them on the other
field 4.
fields.
We don't redo Field 4.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're keeping lights at Park Arthur.
Yeah, everything,
Okay,
the
that's-
field,
I just want to, like, say
Give us
correct or
two-
incorrect.
Which would give us two full-size diamonds in the community with lights, which is huge. Now, the one,
And
there's
the
an
next,
asterisk next to it, the Park Arthur one, because we're
and the
not
next
doing anything.
follow-up question, of course, is going to be, there's no resistance in the neighborhood to lights going up around the high school for the residents. That's going to be a
I
question.
believe they already have plan commission approval from their, because the lights, the reason why it's this price and not $500,000 is the electrical's already stubbed in at the high school for lights, and I think that was part of the
Okay.
initial approval.
Just questions.
Yeah, the football field lights up the entire city, so the baseball field.
So Rick, besides the 100,000 we save on trading the lights for the field, do you know how much we're going to save on maintaining those fields? Because we
Well,
won't
we're
be
not
doing
making,
that.
okay, so that's the other thing that would come up. So the cost of, so right now, I'm sure the biggest thing that MAA and all hate that is their field prep cost right now. Like, I think they're paying $160 per game per field. We don't want to relive all that, but, that's where they are. That's part of this whole organization thing that we can do, that if we hand the fields over to them, when this contract is done, it's a 2-year contract, they can either contract separately with the Happy Mower, Bill's Landscaping, whoever, or do it themselves. I mean, they can do that. The high school is not going to allow them to use anyone else but themselves. They have to use the high school for their own prep for that, but they've already quoted $80 per game. So, which is half of what they're paying now. Any other questions? Yes.
How does it really affect the amount of times we would use all 4 fields at
Park Arthur?
Park Arthur? Is it going
Tournaments?
to diminish the number of uses in total, or?
Yes.
It will,
Yeah,
right.
because they're going to be pulling.
Any
So
guess
there's-
on that?
There's sometimes, no, I'm not far enough in the loop on that, but there is parts of seasons that they overlap. The varsity baseball ends, varsity baseball can go as late as June, but most of those games are on the road by then. Those are playoffs. And they start in April. But just because their season doesn't mean they have games there every night or at the same time. You can do, I mean, one of the things we're talking about is having double headers where, the junior Warriors play an earlier game and the varsity plays afterwards. And it's just to build more community events type of thing like that.
My understanding is that after the price was what became the 160 or 165, whatever it is, the number of uses of those fields was cut considerably by
Sure,
MAA because
they
of
couldn't
that.
afford it.
Yeah. So we have already diminished the amount of use of the fields for the time being by that.
Could be.
And so I was wondering if we're going to increase the use or decrease the use
Well,
in
I
coming
would
years
guess,
as a result of that.
I would guess that, if
Under
they have
this
the ability to
proposal.
control their cost on it, they're going to go back to using them if they can.
So we could actually increase the use from where it's been the last year, this past year, possibly. Okay.
I'd be guessing.
it's so hard to tell with use. It's
Yeah.
so with weather. Like this year right now, our fields are open. No one else's fields are open. I mean, we are packed like you wouldn't believe. This is an anomaly year.
Yeah.
I mean, we got tournaments almost all the time.
We had
Yeah.
some out of
For
area
this whole other
tournament all
reason.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our fields are open,
Yeah.
There's just, people need fields, so.
I was just gonna ask, what do you need from us?
Just your blessing to let me go forward.
that
And,
line.
I mean, you're not approving anything at this point, but I didn't want to get too far down the line and have you guys all say, what are you doing? Yeah, so, and if there's red flags or something that you want me to look into or make sure I, don't go a certain direction, just let me know.
We need a motion?
No.
I've got your consensus, I think.
Can you send us the cliff notes on this?
Sure.
I mean, just so.
The pros and cons, right?
Yeah. Can I
Pros and
do that
cons.
once I'm still trying to get together?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've met with the baseball organizations twice. They sent me a list of 25 questions, which I answered, and now I want to get back with them after they've gotten my responses to things. So let me get together with them and then I'll give you an update on where we're at.
Yeah, we need
My concerns are season conflicts, what's going to become of Park
Sure.
Arthur? There's been a huge investment in that park,
Absolutely, yeah.
so, okay.
Big investment.
We definitely need plenty of updates, so,
Yeah.
as it goes.
That's why I think I'm hoping I'm keeping you guys up to date more than you're used to, so, if I'm not, just let me know. So what this will mean is we are not gonna do it, that is the one thing that we're gonna.
Yeah, that's.
So the one thing you guys are agreeing on to right now is we are not doing Park Arthur for this year, because, we're at a point right now where we kind of have to let it go.
I have to have a decision. Here's the deal. I need to either,
Yeah, doesn't mean you can't come back to this later,
Yeah.
But it's gonna affect playing surfaces and things like that, so, that's the only thing I let you guys know, because.
the reason why is just, if we go forward now, I have a time period. I want to try to get that grass to grow in the fall, cut it 2 or 3 times, so that when June hits of next year, that's all I'm saying. So you're basically saying, you're telling me not to do it, that's fine, I don't have a problem. It's just, now I know, and I gotta let the contractors know too, so.
So what happens to our budget plans for this year then? With that, if we've,
I would still move forward are you talking about 1, 2, and 3?
whatever we had planned this year.
Well, 4 would just go.
And I can bring that back as a memo. I did talk to Sharon on how we would do the funding of this.
Okay.
Because this money was coming out of landfill. There's some other things that aren't, and we do have to move things around a little bit to get it to work, but it does work, so.
So there is a plan for that already
Yes,
conceived, okay.
So the plan would be just no fill 4.
right,
I just need that, no.
yes. Okay? That's all I had for Cow tonight, so can I get a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:37.